Okay, so the first thing we need to clarify is what on earth is a FODMAP? The acronym, as described by co-creator Sue Shepherd, stands for fermentable, meaning they're broken down or fermented by bacteria in the large bowel. Oligosaccharides is the O, and oligo means few, and saccharide means sugar. So these are molecules that are made up of individual sugars joined together in a chain. Now disaccharides, di means two, this is a double sugar molecule, and monosaccharides, mono means single, so this is a single sugar molecule. And then the A is for and the P is for polyols. Now these are sugar alcohols, not to be confused with ethyl alcohol, which is what makes you drunk, but sugar alcohols are also a FODMAP. So that's why we're going to stick to the term FODMAPs. So in essence, FODMAPs are short chain carbohydrates that, if they're not digested properly in those people who are sensitive, they ferment in your large intestine, your colon, your bowel. These are all names for the same place. And when they're fermented, they draw gas and water, and it starts to cause the symptoms of IBS. Someone who is intolerant to one or more of these FODMAPs is going to experience some pain, bloating, visual abdominal distension, potentially diarrhea, potentially constipation, and other gastro-digestive related issues when they eat these FODMAPs. Now, to see the mechanisms of action, what I just said about FODMAPs in the large intestine and being fermented, Monash actually made a really great animated video of this, which I've embedded below this video. So definitely watch that after you watch this video. But I just want to be clear that Monash made it. I had nothing to do with it. I wish I did, but I didn't do it. They did it. Okay, so we know what the FODMAPs acronym stands for, which is the chemistry side. Now let's look at the common FODMAPs in your food. You've got fructose, which is a sugar found in most fruits and vegetables. Lactose, a sugar found in dairy foods like milk. Fructans, now they're very similar to fructose, found in many vegetables and grains. Galactans, which are found primarily in legumes. And then polyols. These are the sugar alcohols I spoke about, like xylitol, sorbitol, maltitol, and mannitol. You may have heard of some of those. You find them mainly in artificial sweeteners, definitely in chewing gum, and that's why you might have read a few on the packet, like if you eat a lot of chewing gum at once, it may have a laxative effect. It's because of the polyols. So typically an individual who is intolerant to FODMAPs is actually only intolerant or sensitive to one or two of those. So that's why we need to discover which ones exactly that they are. By doing so, you can then avoid foods that have that particular FODMAP that you're sensitive to, and then still enjoy the rest of the food. And that brings me to the low FODMAP diet. As you probably guessed, a low FODMAP diet is a temporary dietary regime that strictly limits the amount of FODMAPs that you eat. It was developed by Sue Shepherd and Peter Gibson at Monash University in Melbourne, Australia. And it was used to treat what's known as irritable bowel syndrome, or IBS. It has been clinically shown to work for 3 in 4 patients on average. Case studies and anecdotes have seen it now emerging as a useful treatment tool for numerous other health conditions related to gut health, which turns out to be most of them. FODMAPs are found in a huge range of foods, so cutting them out can be extremely difficult without assistance because A, you have to work out what foods you eat that contain large amounts, and B, you have to work out how to replace those foods appropriately so that you have something to eat. Okay, so how does it work specifically? Well, for 3 to 8 weeks, it depends on how you respond, you strictly limit all FODMAPs from your diet. This is known as the elimination phase. There are no cheat days, okay? And the idea is that with all the FODMAPs out of your diet, it gives your gut bacteria a chance to correct any imbalances and your gut has some time to heal if there's been any damage. Now, after this, you then begin the reintroduction phase, reintroducing each FODMAP type one at a time to see what triggers symptoms. For example, you may first reintroduce fructose, which is a type of sugar, for 1 week. If you have no symptoms, you may then reintroduce lactose 2, and so on and so forth. Then once the trigger FODMAPs have been identified, you will know what you can and cannot eat, and you can return to a regular way of eating more or less.